Hello and welcome to the Sunbirdcrochet podcast. My name is Claudia and I'm coming to you from Germany. It's a rainy and cold and windy Sunday, perfect for sitting down and talking to you about crochet, knitting and all my purchases. Today I have for you finished objects, 1, 2, 3 of them, then 3 works in progress, lots and lots of patterns I've seen which are tempting me, and yeah, crochet and knitting as well. Then there's incoming 2 books with knitting patterns, and what else? Well, a little bit of a chat maybe at the end. That's more or less it. So let's dive right in. My first project, finished object, is inspired by the movie North by Northwest, a Hitchcock movie from 1959, which is a spy thriller, and Cary Grant is playing the main role as Roger Thornhill, who has very bad luck. It's a case of mistaken identity. He's in I think he's in a hotel, and the name of a spy is called out, and at the same time he's reacting to the waiter. So the bad guys think that he's that spy, and yeah, from then on he's chased all across America, across the USA. And there's a woman he's meeting on a train while he is being chased and on the run. And she turns out to be spying first, you think, for the bad guys, but then later it turns out that she's actually infiltrating the bad guys and she's working for the good ones. It all ends on Mount Rushmore with him and the girl or the woman being chased by the bad guys, and it has a happy ending, so that's good. I think the best known scene is actually when Roger Thornhill goes to a fake meeting point in the middle of nowhere, prairie stop, and there, while he's waiting for the other guy to come and meet him, a plane is starting to chase him across the cornfields, or the fields anyway. As with every Hitchcock movie, you actually see Alfred Hitchcock in one of the scenes. It's quite at the beginning of the movie. He's entering a bus. That's before the story even begins. I'm sure you know that Alfred Hitchcock always is in one of the scenes in every single one of his movies. So that's always something to look for in Hitchcock movie. I very much enjoyed the movie, mainly because I'm a Cary Grant fan. The story was quite interesting. The main bad guys are very well played. I think the most exciting scene for me was when one of the bad guys is, well, maybe I shouldn't tell you. That's all spoilers. The woman tries to get back the trust of the bad guys by shooting, I think it was Roger Thornhill she was shooting. I was crocheting at the time, so I couldn't always look. but that was a staged shooting, so she didn't have real, she wasn't really shooting anyone. It was a fake gun. And so later one of the bad guys discovers that, and he acts like he wants to shoot the main bad guy. And that was quite exciting, because I thought, what's going on here? Is he really like going to shoot the main bad guy who actually still had feelings for the woman? So he was, in a way, the main bad guy was easier to be manipulated than the second hand. Yeah, but it's a very good movie. Also quite like back in 1959 you didn't have sex scenes as such, so you would have a curtain which blows in the wind, or in this case, right at the end, the train moving into a train tunnel. Yes, that's the sex scene of the 1950s for you. But let me talk about the project which I have chosen. This is a pattern by Every Trick on the Hook, and she has her website everytrickonthehook.com, and it's a pot holder, which I wouldn't normally need, but I chose this because the pattern is called North by Northwest. So it was easy. I just typed in North by Northwest crochet, so this one came up, and it was a very quick make, and it's actually not too bad. I used cotton yarn so that when I put it underneath a pot it won't burn, and you make 2 identical sides, and then you join them together with the last round and with some picot accents on the border, and a little loop so that you can hang it up. First finished object, North by Northwest pot holder. Now, my next finished object is a knitted project, and I've been working on it for absolute ages. This is what it looks like. It's my mini Advent shawl, which is just a tube shawl. I started with a 2x1 rib to knit 1 purl, and it's it's a tube scarf, so it was very easy. You just cast on, I think these are 120 stitches, and then I just worked around until I finished the color. So let's go through the colors. Blue, and this is Craft House Magic, Craft House Magic, Craft House Magic, Craft House Magic, I believe. Still Craft House Magic, still. And then I think this one was Marianti yarns. Still moving through. And this is also Marianti yarns, and I think it's my favorite in this shawl. And we are finishing with Craft House Magic yarn. So that's done and dusted. Have I talked about this last time already? Let me just check. No, I just talked about it in the whip section. So yeah, that's finally done. I don't remember if I worked on it for 2 years or for free, but it was a long time. It was my oldest whip, and it's finally done. The next project for Movie and Stitch is already finished. Let me show you the project, the finished project. What's this, you ask? This one was inspired by the Peter Becker project. Peter Becker is a person. She is living in Cape Town, I think, and she's running a crochet project in the townships of Cape Town, and I was definitely inspired by when I made the flowers. And it's supposed to be a baobab tree meets cactus with some little felt birds in there, and these are supposed to be weaver birds. And yeah, so this is my finished project. And the movie I chose was Out of Africa, which is a movie from the 1980s with Meryl Streep and Robert Redford. I almost said Roger. No, Robert Redford. And it's a movie after the book by Isak Dinesen, who basically wrote the story of her life. She is a Danish author, or was a Danish author, and also known as Karen Blixen. And she got married to a friend of hers, and they moved to Kenya. Back then, I believe it was East Africa. And they had a farm there. The book actually starts with, I had a farm in Africa. And she, on the way to where she's going to live, the train stops in the middle of nowhere, and Dennis Finch-Hatton, she meets Dennis Finch-Hatton, played by Robert Redford, who is a very free-spirited British, I think he's a British guy, who is loading up the tusks, the elephant tusks, from elephants he had hunted. The morals of this story is on a whole new level. I can't agree with the colonialism, the hunting, or the big animal hunting, and the way they treated the locals. It was a whole different time and era, so I don't think I would have time or the knowledge to talk about this aspect of a movie. And if you are put off by these themes, movie themes, then you shouldn't watch the movie. I watched the movie for the interaction between the main characters, Karen Blixen and Dennis Finch-Hatton. Yes, so they meet on the train first, and she's a little bit ridiculous because she is worried about her china and her glasswares in her trunks when he's loading up the elephant tusks. Anyway, so he's moving on, goes back to wherever he wants to go, and she's moving on with the train, and she's meeting her husband finally, and they go to the farm. They start growing coffee beans, and he basically leaves everything, all the work and all the management, to her. He's just off having fun, going on hunting excursions, and he's having other women. Theirs wasn't a love story. They married because she wanted to be independent from her family, I think, and from the whole situation at home. And she wanted to have a say what she wants to do with her money. But he's not the best pick. He gives her syphilis. But yeah, so the story has lots of parallel stories to tell. The friend of Dennis Finch-Hatton, he suffers from malaria and he later dies of it. He is secretly his secret partner is a black woman from, what was she? Maasai? I'm not sure. But he's living with her for years together, and even when he's getting buried, she is not allowed, or she isn't standing near his grave or next to his grave. She's standing outside the fence of a cemetery, and it was very moving. Most of all, the love story of Dennis Finchatten and Karen Blixen moved me as such, because he never really, I mean, he comes to her on his own. He comes to her when he feels like it, but he also leaves her, so she doesn't, it's not a relationship with, it's not something I would call a proper relationship. She is supposed to wait for him to come back, and he won't commit to her, and that really gets me going. And even though they have beautiful, beautiful times together, he's a pilot of a plane, and he takes her to the coast of Kenya, and they go swimming in the sea, and it's all beautiful. And then they have a discussion at the fire, and yeah. So he values his freedom more than he values his relationship with Karen, which is personally, from my point of view, very hurtful. Because he expects her to give everything to him, but he doesn't give everything to her. It's all about his needs, not her needs. And he's very charming, and they have a great time in between. But he's also just gone when she wants to be with him. He's just going to his next adventure. And not women, I mean, like going on hunting safaris and flying to the Masai Mara or wherever, and he just wants to not to be pinned down by anyone. So she tries to make a good marriage with her actual husband, and he gives her syphilis. She has to go back to Denmark and she survives, but she can't have children anymore. When she comes back, they decide to get divorced, and Dennis is living with her for a while. As I said, when they have this discussion about what she wants and needs and what he can't give her, and then it turns out that she has to sell the farm and she has to move back to Denmark for good. And Dennis, on her last day, he offers her to bring her to the port or to the next biggest city with his plane, but he never arrives. And then her husband comes to her to tell her that he crashed with his plane and he died. So almost at the end of the whole movie, you see her at I think it's the Ngorongoro crater or Masamara, that area there, that he gets buried there on a hill overlooking the wonderful nature, and she is reciting a poem that he was never, that she thanks God that he gave them Dennis Finchatten, even though he never belonged to them. They didn't own him. He was a gift, and they are thankful for the time they spent together. And then she says, she ends the book or the movie with the scene of a lions, pride of lions, lying on the spot where Dennis Finchatten is buried. And they like it because it's like a platform and they can overlook their territory. And yeah, very poetic, also very sad, because I prefer a happy ending, but yeah, that's Out of Africa for you. Beautiful scenes. There are many scenes in between which I haven't talked about, like how she wins the respect of the men in town, and she's not allowed to go to the club in the hotel like the men's club, but when she leaves the country she's actually invited to take a last drink with them. And also the scene, she's actually building a very close relationship to the people who work for her, and especially to her house servant, who not only, I mean, her husband isn't there, Dennis isn't there, so she's on her own, and they are basically her family, and she helps them as well. She wants to build a school, although she does, and she pays for a teacher so that the children get an education. You can see it from two sides. On the one hand, she gives them an education. On the other hand, she takes their culture away to replace it with her culture. So it's all a little bit a mixed bag of things. It is a 1980s movie. It is two American actors playing a Danish woman and a British. So I don't know how authentic it is, but if you take it for what it is, then you can enjoy the movie, but don't expect a happy ending. So the title Out of Africa was the inspiration for me to look for crochet coming from Africa. And my heart is very close to Cape Town, to South Africa, so obviously I chose something from South Africa. Yeah, as I said, Peter, P-E-T-A, Becker project is helping women from townships. They're joining a business, they are productive, they have an income, so that's something I would really like to support. They are selling their products internationally, I believe, in design stores, so it's very fashionable to have such eccentric crochet items. And that's all with finished objects for today. Next are my works in progress. I've started my project for the letter P, which would be Persuasion, the Jane Austen movie Persuasion. But I'm not sure if it's the wrong period. I'm going to show you. This is the Purse of Prosperity, which I talked about last time, and it's colorwork crochet, and it's a pomegranate design. I'm going to add here another applique for the center of a pomegranate, maybe some beads, either wooden or pearly beads, and I have a leather handle to join here on the top, and I could make this into a bag, like a messenger bag, or I could just use it for putting books inside, and then I can like carry a book with me in the bag. My mind isn't settled on this one, but this is actually more like Edwardian times, Art Deco style, so it's not really the right project for Persuasion. I will have to look up another project and make something else, but I'm working on this one. So I've talked about this pattern in my last episode already. Now my two other works in progress at the moment are my Illuminated Sweater. Can you hear that? That's the cat outside, the neighbor's cat. Yeah, so this is my Illuminated Sweater. I still haven't added anything to it, but this is on my list. Even though it's just got down one position on my making list. I will talk about this later. And it's living in my Halloween huge project bag. My other work in progress, which I also haven't finished and touched yet since last time, is my heritage blanket. I'm using also a 4mm hook for that, and I'm still working on that one. That's a pattern made by Yalin, South African designer, and I love this pattern, but I get so sidetracked easily. Sorry, Yalin. But you see, these are all my colors, and it's going to be made eventually. Then, Squirrel. I would just like to talk about patterns which I've bought, which I've seen and haven't yet bought. So in no particular order, I bought the pattern for the Majestic Cowl design by Lyudmila Hefny. I put her Instagram handle up here. And I also bought the Ivy head pattern from the same designer. These are both crochet patterns, and I just love the look of it. I hope I will be able to make this, that it looks like that. Then Sophie Hurden has brought out a new pattern for a crochet cowl, which is called the Giddyquin cowl. And her podcast name is A Spring Snowflake. So you can find her. I will just put up her Instagram handle out here, so you can go and have a look at her cowl design. Yeah, something else. You see, I made notes here. But then also, there was a Zoom meeting last night and this morning, so I made extra notes and I have to move back and forwards. So I wrote something here. Oh yes, Trina was actually crocheting a lovely blanket the pattern is called Hydrangea blanket by Attic24, who is well known for her blanket designs. And then I saw the Frida shawl, and Faye was talking about it. I saw the Frida shawl yonks ago, and I really thought it was beautiful, but I wasn't sure if I should buy it. And then I saw Faye's the Crochet Circle podcast's latest episode, and she was saying that she's going to start making this, and I thought, yeah, maybe I should join as well. And then on Zoom I saw Rachel also working on the Frida shawl. So what we now decided is to have a make along in the Crochet Circle podcast group, and anyone who wants to join, of course, can join. And so I bought the Frida shawl. Yeah, I will put the name of the designer up here, and she's one of the other designers with the pattern in Murid magazine issue 2. And yeah, she's a Danish designer, and I think it's a very modern shawl, and I can't wait to start this. This is then my 4th work in progress. I looked through my stash, but there was nothing which inspired me, so I actually went and bought the yarn which she used for her pattern and which she recommended, and I ordered 3 colors, even though you only need 2, because I couldn't decide if I would take the warm gray with the light rose color together, or the dark blue with the warm gray, or the dark blue with the rose color. So I have 3 colors, and I will look at them in daylight when I have them here, and then I decide what color combination I will choose. So the Frida shawl, and it's not shawl, it's not spelled shawl, it's S-J-A-L. I think it's Danish for shawl. Yeah, so, oh, and I also met Ines from who's Elderberry Farm Crafts, and she also has a sweater design in Murid magazine issue 2. You see, we're all a great community. I love this about crochet. We all get together and connect, and Ines has a lovely design in there. It's a sweater pattern called Aitiol. I don't know how to pronounce it, but I will put the name up here. And the yarn she used was from the fiber company Luma DK. Yes, I really can't wait for Murid magazine issue 2 coming out. Not so much even for my own designs, but for all the other lovely designs. Yes, I better finish all the projects by then. Only a month now, a month and a week. Okay, so incoming. I have 2 books. They're both for knitting. And I've ordered a 3rd book, but this is only coming out in April. The new book by Normal Stitches, I think her 1st book, and it's all crochet designs, but the books which I have here right now are only for knitting. The first one is a publication in collaboration with Len, and it's called Worsted, a knitwear collection curated by Aimee Jill of La Bien-Aimée. It's I ordered that at La Bien-Aimée. Now what I bookmarked for making is this cardigan, which is called Andrea, because it's designed by Andrea Mowry. And then there is the strata hat. I think this will be my first colorwork hat, which I will attempt making. And then I also bookmarked for future. I'm skipping a couple of designs now, even though they're also lovely, but I think they would be beyond my possibilities at the moment. So what I also had a look at was a sweater design called Yesteryears, and I think that's, yeah, the designer is Maxime Zil, one of the Canadian guys. So that's really beautiful, I believe. Then there's another knitting book, 13 knitting patterns to paint with yarn, Painting Shawls by Stephen West. And you could get this as a signed copy. Obviously I didn't. And with this book you not only got the book, but also Ravelry code, and you could enter it on Ravelry, and then you can download all the patterns as a PDF, so you can use it digitally as well. 13 different knitting patterns, which you can then combine to make your own personal shawl. I think I really liked when I joined the Schlography Cal last autumn. I really enjoyed the section with the I think these are the, let me not lie, these ones, triangles. So this is in here as well. If you want to make a whole shawl only with the triangles, that's possible. And yeah, there are of course photos of Mr. West doing his best as well. Yeah, they weren't exactly cheap, but I think I will get a lot of use out of these ones. Let's have a little chat to finish this episode. That John Arbon has announced the open mill weekend, which will be from Friday the 10th of June until Sunday the 12th of June, from 9:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. every day. And it's going to be taking place in South Molton Town Hall. That's in North Devon, UK. And I think they will also have some parts of it virtually for those who can't travel to South Molton, but I wish I could. I talked to Faye about it, and she's going to be selling things there. And Rosina from Zines and Roger will be there for a workshop, giving a workshop of teaching about corner to corner crochet. Yeah, so that's on my wish list. Moving on to movies. I'm still watching The Gilded Age, and are you watching too? What is your take on Mr. Rakes? Is he the lawyer? I mean, is he a good guy, or is he indeed a shyster? I don't trust him. He's too good to be true. I saw that there's a new Downton Abbey movie coming up on the 28th of April this year. And the Dowager has inherited a villa at the Riviera. And most of the family is moving down there for a holiday. Meanwhile, Mary is staying at home because there is a filming crew arriving at Downton Abbey. It all looks very exciting. And then there's a new movie, Cyrano de Bergerac, a new version of it coming out on the 3rd of March. Bridgerton Series 2 is coming out on the 25th of March. And that's basically all on my to-watch list. That's it for now. I probably forgot something, but whatever I forgot, I will add next time. So keep well, keep crocheting, and I will talk to you soon. Bye!